Christian Zionism is the belief of Christian mythology that the Jewish people need to return to their homeland in the land of Israel and to rebuild the Temple of Jerusalem and several other things, all in the name of ushering in the end times, so that Jesus can come back in the rapture, return to earth, and bring all of the true believers to heaven. There's a lot of problematic issues in the theological stance of Christian Zionism all on its own. In its very essence, it is anti-Semitic because it does present the Jewish people as a pawn in this mythology's end times kind of, theater or drama that plays out. And I've talked in depth about the book of Revelation and the Bible and how the lore behind Christian mythology's Armageddon is so intense. And I am diving into that more and more and learning about the actual theology called dispensationalism, which was popularized by John Nelson Darby. I don't think he was the actual originator of the theological belief. He founded this society called the Plymouth Brethren or something. There's just so much to the theological origins of Christian Zionism that is separate from the secular political manifestation of Zionism. And the fusion of the secular political and financial backing of Zionism with the Christian iteration of the theological point of view fused, I think I'm discovering around the 70s or maybe 60s. And it has been just totally wild for me to dig into the actual maneuvers of these people in power behind the scenes, because we talk a lot about on this channel about how Christian nationalism is on the rise in this country and how there are actual, evident, observable powers that be who are fusing the ad market, like the digital ad market, with tons of cash to specifically target people who go to Christian churches, because now that churches are digitized and people can, sign up to have an automatic withdrawal so that their tithe and offering can go to their preferred church of choice. People are signing up for classes online at their local church. People are joining small groups via a digital, platform for their local church, and all of these different things. All of that digital data we have seen has been mapped out, has been observably used so that people on the religious right can then influence their votes. And we have seen that through I360, this Data is the Difference website that right here says turn insight into action. And they very much promise people who are running for political office that they will, help them get elected. And it's insane. Look at this chart on the right, all of the consumer data, so that you can get into, look at this on the left, unparalleled insight into voter behaviors. Reach your audience wherever they are. Their case studies very much right there, front and center, are open about what they're doing, which is taking the data of people and manipulating it so that certain people can get into power. And we've been looking at this from a Christian nationalist perspective, and now I'm ready to fuse that with a deeper understanding of the Christian Zionism efforts from the pro-Israel lobby, who has just as much, if not tons more cash to just, again, completely manipulate and handle our democracy like it's nothing. And so Christian Zionism goes super deep theologically for Christians, and it's something that I am trying to understand more because, again, I wasn't taught specifically about the concept of dispensationalism, but I did receive a lot of lectures about the end times and Armageddon. And I just think it is so insidious that all of this is wrapped up into supporting in a genocidal state and a colonial state. I mean, we're here in this house, we're all very familiar with the harm that the state of Israel is committing, with the violence they're committing in the name of apartheid. It's terrible. And I try to speak about Christian Zionism because I think it is the most violent and horrific result of evangelical Christianity, like I was raised. So one of the ways I've been trying to learn more about Christian Zionism is through documentaries and a couple of books. I recently got my copy of The 100 Years War on Palestine by Rashid Khalidi, and it has been interesting. I've only gotten through the introduction, but this has been one of the most highly recommended books for an accurate and also more maybe emotionally evoking portrayals of what has happened in the last 100 years in Palestine. And I am, again, trying to arm myself with more information about this concept because here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I'm at, Zionism is not just like a fringe concept. It is openly promoted in all of the mega churches with thousands of people. And it's just so dark, and it's just so like the layers of conditioning and programming and manipulation is a lot to unpack for some random ass girl on YouTube, but I am doing my best. I feel like I've been so out of the loop because I have been approaching all of my deconstruction from a non-religious point of view, from the, okay, I'm not a Christian anymore, so I guess I'm an atheist, and how do I fight against the evangelical nature of this country? How do I fight against the religious right and Christian conservatism, which is all wrapped up in all of these horrific, again, manipulative tactics to manipulate church congregations to vote certain ways, and the Council for National Policy, and all of this Christian nationalism that I'm trying to unearth and uncover on my own and like learn about. In the meanwhile, like everyone else has been coming to this conversation from the political side of the conversation, and I feel like I'm so behind because I've just been trying to understand the universe, and I know I'm not alone in that as far as like having more of an interest or a curiosity about religion and how our religious beliefs affect our voting, affect where we donate our money, to which political parties and all of this stuff. And so it just has been a really, important challenge for myself, I think, to come to terms with how all of these really harmful personal religious beliefs can manifest into actual harm towards other people, even on the other side of the motherfucking world. And that is why I'm trying to learn more and trying to talk about it. One of the documentaries that has been really helpful for me it's called With God on Our Side. And I took a lot of notes about With God on Our Side. And what's interesting, you guys should be so proud of me. It's actually from the perspective, I think the person who put the documentary together was a Christian who is fighting against Christian Zionism. And I, of course, I always try to make that caveat that I know that there are Christians who are standing up for what's right. I know that there are atheists who are Zionists, like it's not about trying to put people in these boxes or these labels, but this is my extensive note-taking that I took about the With God on Our Side 2017 documentary. Don't quote me on that. But I'm trying to be very intentional about what I am learning about Zionism from the Christian perspective. So that's why I watched this documentary first. This was an interesting note, an interesting kind of scene in the documentary. Palestinian Christians have been there for centuries as a minority. All of a sudden, with globalized media, they're seeing American evangelicals via an active Christian lobby tell them that they don't belong on their own land and that they're getting in the way of a second coming of Jesus via the migration of Jews migrating into that land from the diaspora. So the interpretation is almost like they need to commit suicide as a people in order for God's plan to come to fruition. Like it's so dark. And I that is so true. And it's not just Palestinian Christians who are kind of brushed aside as a secondary set of people according to Christian Zionism. Again, it's also the Jewish people who are just pawns at best, or in the way at worst, to Jesus' second coming for the sake of the true believing white evangelical Christians, so there's a lot to it that I will continue to speak to and continue to bring the information to you guys. So this is kind of where I'm trying to approach all of my knowledge now, because Zionism is a political system that believes that Jews have rights to much of the land in the Middle East, including Palestine, and that they are given preference over others who may have even been born there. So Christian Zionism gives a religious slant to a secular political movement, and that is where we are, folks. That is where we are. Free Palestine.